What up, everybody? It's your boy, Harry Wilmington here. Welcome to the evening edition of Harry Dating Combos. I'm your host, Harry Wilmington. And, for those of you that live in California, I feel sorry for you. It is sweltering hot. Like, it is burning up today. I'm in my apartment, sweating my butt off. But you know what? I'm like, as long as I'm here, I might as well come on here tonight. I did a live earlier today, just kind of talking about, you guys and talking about how, regardless of where you're at in your dating journey right now, that in some sense you are fine the way you are right now. So always work to be done, but we could always do better. And so kind of piggybacking off of that, tonight, I wanted to talk about some of the lessons that I've learned from dating in my years dating women, studying up on women, and also being able to coach guys on women and hearing about a wide variety of topics and subjects and situations guys have gone through, as well as conversations I've had with women over the years, whether it was women I dated, women in my family, friends of mine. Like, collectively, I've had a lot of time in my 42 years on earth here to learn about women and to really figure out what makes them work. Because, my dating life today is absolutely fantastic, and I'm able to, date the kind of women that I want, but it wasn't always that way. And so in my journey of dating, I had to learn about the ins and outs of what works for them and what doesn't to be able to get to the place I'm at now. And so I figured it'd just be a good thing to talk about, what are some of the major lessons that I've learned about being around women and dating them in general. And so I've come up with 10 things I want to talk about. Obviously, there are more than 10 things that I've learned in the course of me dating, but I figured this is a good starting place for you because, one, I don't want to overwhelm you with a bunch of information about things that women do and don't do and what they need, but also just as a good starter to kind of get you guys equipped with like knowledge of these are kind of things that I learned that took me like 5, 10, 15 years to learn. And so if I can cut your time by like 90%, then you will have a leg up on other people that are out there that are your competition, And so I'm going to go over what those 10 things are. As always, guys, this show is about you. So if you have any questions or just things you want to comment on during the course of this show, you can do that in the chat box, and I'll be happy to get to it. All right. And by the way, this show is brought to you by my website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. Got a lot of great programs there, a lot of great ebooks that are designed to help you get a leg up on this dating journey of yours so you can get out there and get the women that you want. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this list that I got here. So this list is a list of 10 insights that I've gotten from dating women over these last however many years, right? So here's the first one. The first important lesson that I learned about women. And it's not It's not the first one, okay? It's a very high importance. These are in no particular order. So don't assume that like number 1's number 1, number 10's number 10. Like, that's not it, all right? So with that said, these are 10 insights that I've gotten from dating women over the years. So one of the important insights that I've gotten as a result of my years of dating is that there are more women out there that will say yes to you than you could possibly imagine. In my days as a younger dater, when I was anxious and nervous and thought of myself as weird, I did not think that women would want to date me at all. Now, let me know if that's been your experience. Have you experienced where you want to ask certain women out, but maybe you feel like you don't have enough money or you don't have as much charisma as the next guy that's hitting on her? Like, I'm sure you've probably experienced that, right? And so we get in our heads and we tell ourselves that there's no way that this person who's of a different class, different race, different family structure, different environments, whatever, would ever possibly date us. Or we look at ourselves and say, we're such slum, or we're less than, or we're not handsome enough. There's no way that this woman would want to have me on her arm. One of the things that was really sad this past year was Matthew Perry died. And when he died, it came out that he actually dated Julia Roberts back in the day. Like, I remember she did a guest stint on Friends. I think she was either playing his girlfriend or at least his love interest, right? And so he had actually asked her to be on the show, and she said, yeah. And then they actually started dating each other for like a few months. And so he wrote in his book that at the end of the day, he just couldn't imagine that this superstar, hot, awesome chick that could have any guy that she wanted would choose him. And so because of that, he couldn't handle the pressure and he ended up dumping her. Like she didn't come to him and say, hey, you're not good enough for me, so I'm out. He had such low self-esteem that even though he was already dating Julia Roberts, he just didn't think that ultimately it was going to last because he's him, she's her, and how dare a woman like her want to date somebody like me long-term, let alone take me seriously, so I'm out. And how often do we do that to ourselves, gentlemen? How often do we think because of, previous experiences of trying to get a girl like her and then failing that this girl is just not going to like me? Or we think, well, there's no shot I have. I don't want to get laughed at. I'm not even going to try. And I'm telling you, there are so many women that I either didn't ask out or I waited too late to ask out that would have actually gone out with me if only I had thought that that was even possible, And so I say this because I don't want you guys looking at back in your life thinking, man, I wish I had gone with this girl, or I wish I'd taken a shot with this girl. Like, it's better for you to take the shot and lose out completely than to never take the shot and have in your mind what could have possibly been if I'd have just stepped to her. There are women to this day that I asked out and they said no, but I was actually glad that I asked them out and got the response that I got, because at least I knew, okay, I gave my shot and they didn't want to do it. So now that argument in my head is settled. There is no more would she have or not. I know that she wouldn't have. But I've also had women that I thought I never would have a shot with and said, you know what, worst case scenario, I leave this party, I don't get her number, I never see her again. And I go up to her, start talking. Next thing I know, she's happy to converse with me. She's happy to give a number. Later on, she's happy to go on a date with me, and that can happen too. So you got to give women a little bit of credit. Like they can be judgmental, but there are women out there that aren't nearly as judgmental as you think. It starts up here. If you're thinking you're going to get judged heavily or teased or whatever, then I got news for you, guy. You're going to miss out on a lot of great women. All right. And that's a very important lesson I had to learn in my dating life. Okay. So the second important insight that I got is that not all women have emotional, I want to say intelligence, but it's really emotional stability. We hear this argument in society that men need to be more emotional and in touch with their feminine side and be able to, say what their true feelings are and all sorts of stuff. And of course, we've learned over the years that doing that isn't really like in our best interest. Like we've learned that being over feely and over emotional typically gets us like, women looking down on us. But the other thought is that, the reason men should share more is because if they just let out their emotions more, then they would be able to handle things a lot better, just the way women do. Now, I know from my years of coaching that is not emphatically true, that, women at large, as much as they get the reputation of being the ones that are more emotionally intelligent, that does not mean that they're people that are emotionally stable all the time. Because I would argue that a guy that's not able to get completely rattled when things don't go his way, or like, when problems arise, they're not quick to just start breaking down and crying. I would think that guy objectively has more emotional stability because he's learned to be indifferent to stuff to where he can get into thinker mode and problem solving mode versus being all weepy and emotional, right? But here's the other thing too, is that I have found that as much as women oftentimes say they want a guy that's emotionally intelligent or emotionally stable, that when it comes to problem solving things or comes to calling them out on things, many women cannot handle that. Obviously, a couple of years ago, Kevin Samuels died, and that whole show was women going on there thinking that they wanted the truth from Kevin about their dating scenario, and him saying, your dating scenario is not possible based on what your station is in life, and women getting upset. So on the one hand, there are women that were saying, oh, I have more emotional stability than a guy, but then they get told the truth about themselves, their situation, or, you might have been in a relationship with the woman, for example, where she legitimately did something that hurt your feelings or embarrassed you. And then you go to her and say, hey, I want to have a talk. This thing that you did was embarrassing and I didn't like it and it hurt my feelings. And I've been in situations with some women where I did that because I came from a household where we could sit down and talk about stuff. My mom was very helpful in helping both me and my brother practice, hey, when things go wrong, you ain't got to freak out. Like you can actually like talk about it. And so I found I came from that background. So when I would do that with women, I found there are many women that would automatically feel like they're being attacked or scolded at or being talked down upon or, oh, stop yelling when I'm talking in just the voice I'm using right now. And so you'll learn that as you date more women that not all women have the ability to actually be stable with their emotions. And the sooner you learn this lesson, the easier it will be for you to recognize a woman that does not have emotional intelligence and stability. And you will either steer clear or when it arises, you'll be like, oh, Harry pointed this out. This is not a woman that's going to be emotionally stable. And early signs of this are something simple, right? If you're trying to talk to a woman and she keeps jumping in to interrupt you during the course of like a disagreement or a spat, that is a woman that is not respectful of you. But more importantly, that's a woman that is trying to interject early because she's afraid that the things you're going to say to her are going to hurt her feelings or they're going to feel like an attack from you. And so she's basically on the defense trying to pre-attack you before you attack her or what she feels as though you're doing, which is she's feeling like you're trying to attack her. And when you date women like this, I can assure you it doesn't get easy because there are going to be times just in the normal day-to-day of being a couple that you're going to disagree. What you don't want is a partner that is lacking in emotional intelligence and emotional stability and is going to just assume everything's your fault. You're purposely trying to hurt her. And now she's got to defend herself. And no, you can't talk. She's not going to let you talk because I know what you're going to say. And this is that. Guys, as pretty as she is, as much as you want to bang her brains out, the reality is that woman is going to be hell to deal with in a long-term situation. And you need to get out. So that's the second lesson that I've learned so far. And like I said, guys, if you guys have any comments or questions you want to ask during the course of the stream, you're definitely welcome to do so. So the third insight that I've learned from dating women all these years is that women will make excuses for you even if you do them wrong, but only if they have high interest. Hey, I'll be real, guys. As much as I try to be that perfect dater guy, that guy that does no wrong, realistically, there have been times where, I haven't been the best guy, or, there were times where I was withholding information or not trying to tell them about a thing because I knew it would upset them based on previous conversations. And so I'm trying to make sure I don't rattle the boat too much because you're thinking if you don't say the thing or tell the thing, then they'll never know and they'll continue to be happy. But then when they find out, one, that you lied to them, and also they now can't trust you. And I have found that even with that a woman that really likes you, she will do her best to fight through that. She will make excuses as if it never happened because ultimately, as Doc Love used to famously say, high interest level cuts everything. Now, that doesn't mean that you as the guy should be trying to do that stuff. You shouldn't be trying to lie to women. You shouldn't be trying to, do them over dirty and stuff like that. I'm just putting this out there because, there are some women that try to put out all these things that they need. Like I have a list of things and a guy's got to do this and have this and be that and blah, 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 blah. And then turn around and they'll date or hook up with another guy that's doing them dirty, is cheating on them with their best friend and all this stuff. And then you go to them and you're like, why are you seeing this guy? And they're like, oh, he's not that bad. Or, oh, well, he didn't really mean it. Well, it's probably my fault because I did X, Y, and Z. And women across the board will do that. Like women across the board will make excuses for the guy's crappy behavior so far as they have high interest. Now, how does this help you? Because you're going to be able to tell a lot easier if a woman really has interest in you, if she's able to make excuses to her friends about why she has to see you over hanging out with them. Heck, there are women out there that'll give up their whole families if it means they can stay with you because they're like, oh, but he's so great and whatever. And so, yeah, like understand, guys, that women that don't have high interest and they're going to be flaky on you and wobbly and, thinking of all these reasons why, oh, I suddenly can't meet up or whatever. But women, again, regardless of how you do them, if they have high interest, they will make excuses for you and the guy that she really wants to hook up with, okay? So don't buy to the lie of women saying like, oh, you got to jump through all these hoops to get me, because the reality is if you were a guy that she had a high interest in, you could stay at home, feed her ramen, and just bang her brains out watching Netflix, and she'd be happy that she's just spending time with you. Now, you want to be a guy that's better than that. I'm just giving you some perspective, all right? The fourth insight about women that I've gotten from these years of dating is that let's say you're dating a girl and she starts to like flake out a bit, or you've been with a girl for a while and she starts to not be around as much, she starts maybe going ghost, and you're thinking about potentially doing no contact. What I have learned is that going no contact for a girl that you really, really, really like is going to be one of the hardest things that you ever do. But I have found the payoff for doing it is worth it. Because let's say, regardless of the scenario, let's say you go no contact with the woman and she just never gets in contact with you again. It's going to suck for like 30 to 45 days. And then you'll realize, you know what? Her getting out of the way leaves you open for the next woman to come in that could legitimately be a good match. I've also found, let's say you go no contact and within 30 to 45 days, she reaches back out. You were able to demonstrate that you weren't a needy and flaky guy like she thought you were going to be. And that's allowed her to shift out any idea of you not potentially being the guy that she wants to get with. And then it kind of hits at her ego. Like, wait, it's been 30, 40 days and he hasn't hit me up and doesn't he know who I am? Like, am I really not the hot stuff? Or was I the one that was tripping? Because he seems to be totally fine without me. And trust me, if you go no contact on a girl and she's thinking about you at all, she's looking on your social media, she's looking on your Instagram, your TikToks or whatever, and trying to get any kind of info about you. Her brain's going to start saying, if you are searching for him this hard, it must be because you still like him, stupid. You should get back in contact with him. But that can't happen if you are in no contact and then you try to contact her first, But like I said, I've had plenty of instances where I either had a crush on a girl and I stupidly told her and then I just left her alone and then she's coming to me. I've had times where either I dumped a woman or they dumped me, left it alone for 30 days. Next thing I know, a couple months later, they're hitting me up. And so I've always found that ultimately going no contact has been more beneficial than trying to continue to chase after them or trying to negotiate my way into their heart or trying to convince them all the reasons why we should go. No. I found that doing no talking typically has worked more in my favor because it allows her brain to convince her that choosing me or re-choosing me is a good idea. And that's not a thing that you can force on a woman. So if you're thinking of ever going no contact with somebody, one, bravo, you probably should because you probably have been there too much, which is why she's starting to slink away a bit. But also use no contact as a time to like get yourself together, to reevaluate how you date and why it is you feel the need to be so needy or anxious or whatever behavior you were showing. But then don't reach out to her again. If she has high enough interest, she will come to you and realize she made a mistake, and then let her be the one chasing you. Because as I always say, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. So just some food for thought on that lesson. All right, we got a question in the chat. All right. So momentary stop from the list here. We have a question in the chat, and the question goes, I have a question. I have a girl which is closer to my family. We meet more times. She is always wants to know my plans, though. She told she is talking to someone what to hear. So I don't know if you speak a different language or not. That was kind of jumbled. It sounds like you're asking me basically like there's a girl that's close to your family. You guys hang out all the time, but she's talking to somebody else. And so my general mantra is this. If a woman is talking to somebody else, I typically tend to stay clear of that until they decide that they want to dump that other person. Because here's the thing. I don't know if y'all believe in karma or not. Some people say karma's real. Some people say karma's not real. But either way, I have found that that's not typically a good way to start a relationship. Because if I'm so easily able to steal this girl from her guy, who's to say that another guy can't come along and then also steal her away without me knowing about it? Like, if you're thinking, I'm going to try to go after this girl and hope that the guy doesn't find out and then she's cool with that, dude, she's going to be that same exact way if you guys get into a fight of some kind or if she starts feeling bored or whatever. Like, she'll start doing that same stuff. And I don't want something being done to you that you did to somebody else. So my general suggestion is, if you're friends with her for right now, hey, stay friends with her, but don't try to make a date and then try to be like on the date, hey, so what's with the guy that you're with? Oh, you guys aren't really great together. You should date me. I fundamentally don't believe that's a good way for a guy to date. And so, yeah, I would say, even if you want her, again, there are other women out there. There are literally billions of women out there to choose from outside of this one. I just need guys to not be so narrow focused. Like we put these blinders on, like, I got to have her. And there's a whole world of women that are out here that are free and available that would actually date you. Now, it may just be you don't fully believe that you have the skills to be able to get those other women. And if you need help with that, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. You can sign up for one-on-one coaching, or you can check out the main program that I have, the Introvert Dating Success Academy community, which has my ebooks, audiobooks, video courses, etc., that will help you get more confident in who you are as a dater, to where you won't worry about, I need to get this one chick when there's other chicks out there. So hopefully that helps you out. Okay, so moving on to the next insight that I've learned about women from dating. Is that this kind of connects with number 4, where I said no contact is hard to execute, but the benefits are worth it. And part of that's because you're going to be scaling back on you reaching out to her, right? So this ties in with this next lesson that I learned, which is doing less for women in the beginning always has a bigger impact, all right? Now, as men, we are doers, meaning that we feel as though in order to get something accomplished, we always need to be doing actions. We need to be, if we're trying to get a woman, we need to be making those phone calls or texts. We need to be, talking about our emotions and letting them see us cry. We need to be seeing them every single day. And we need to be going to their family functions, even though it's like our second or third date. Like, we need to be doing and doing and doing and doing. And that is very overwhelming for women. Like, I don't know if you're aware, guys, of picture like a cheetah in the forest chasing down like a gazelle, right? Like, when that cheetah catches that gazelle, it's like all this action that happens and all this stuff. And that's kind of the feeling tone, at least from my understanding, that women kind of get. Like, when a guy's coming on too strong, when he's trying to galvanize all the time, when he's trying to text her nonstop, when he's trying to see about, hey, I heard you're going to be with your friends at this restaurant, I want to show up too, and like not giving her space. I have found, and this is also based on my experience of trying to do that stuff, it causes overwhelm for women. And so at some point in my mid-20s, I started testing out, okay, I don't have to make all the moves. I just need to know the right moves to make at the right time, and then strike when I need to make the most impact, and then bounce out to give her brain time to reevaluate what she just experienced with me and decide on her own accord if she wants more of that. One of the big things I talk about on this channel is the whole texting thing. I got a book on my website right now, Texting Women Like a Boss, that goes into the ins and outs of texting. But one of the things that I've said time and time again is texting kills attraction. Why is it that I say texting kills attraction? It's because a woman's desire for you is going to grow more in your absence, because her wanting you is a better way for her to build interest than her actually always getting you when she wants to. There's something to be said for if she texts you and you maybe don't text her right back when you first get a text, or she tries to call you and you're busy on something else, to where you don't just rush back to your phone. Women actually crave that. They crave thinking about you and about not being able to always get you when they want you, because that just builds up interest for them. And so, like I said, I just learned that all the things I thought I had to do, once I was able to scale back a bit and make moves at the right time, then I found that making the right move and being poignant about it is better than making a whole bunch of moves and hoping something sticks to the wall, but it just looks like, coming to her at one time. See all that in the screen right now? That's a lot. That's a lot of movement. And that's what women feel when you're doing all the things. So I just learned that as I scaled back, it resulted in women actually liking me a lot quicker. It resulted in women wanted to hook up with me a lot faster. It resulted in women coming to me at the month and a half to second month mark saying, hey, I want to be your girlfriend. I tell you guys, it takes women on average 2 to 3 months to fully solidify their feelings for you and to fully vet you. But part of that's because a lot of guys are just trying to do the most. And again, women got to spread that out. But I found that the less I did, it allowed women to want to come to me a lot faster, to where I could easily jump into a relationship in the span of a month and a half to 2 months. Or even if they were ready for it, I would still be like, but you know what? We should just date for a little while longer. And then I would be the one that's in control of getting it to 3 months. Okay. So as you do less, you're going to be able to control the situation better, and it's going to have a bigger impact on her emotions. At least that's what I found out so far. Okay. We got a follow-up from the previous question I just asked. He said, after she told me she is talking to someone else, I stopped talking to her. But whenever she met me, she is always wants to know my plans. Should I continue walking away? Well, I'll put it to you like this. It's a good thing that she's the one reaching out. And so the exercise of her reaching out to you, if that keeps happening and you're not like she's saying, oh, we should go out with this and that, then you don't want to do that, right? But if she keeps asking you your plans, I would do this. If she continues to ask you your plans, make sure whenever she asks you, your answer is you're doing some fun crap. You know, oh, I'm going to see this movie thing. I'm going to a laser tag event. I'm going to go to this whatever. Like, you can do that as a way to advertise to her on a subconscious level that you're a really fun guy. Like, you're an amazing guy to get with. Because here's the thing. If she's just talking to this other guy, right, and they're not fully in a relationship, that means right now she's simply in the observation stage, which means she hasn't made a full decision about this guy yet. So in that stage, if a guy comes along that she finds has a more exciting lifestyle or is doing more things that she would want to be a part of and that she can see herself into, then she will take herself out of the talking stage with that other guy in hopes that she can do the things that you're doing. Now, I would say, I'm telling you, you should be mentioning that you're doing like these amazing things, but actually also start doing amazing things. Like, don't wait for women to come around to be doing amazing things. You should be looking up on your local online calendar exciting events that are coming up, festivals, carnivals, whatever, and then going in town and doing them. That way, when she asks you, hey, so what are you doing? You can be like, oh, I found out about this awesome festival that's happening this weekend. I decided to go just check it out. Because here's the thing. Women really like guys that know how to plan things and know how to plan dates. And they like the action of seeing a guy like actually, looking up things online and like making a plan and putting it together, then executing it. And those things are very attractive. And 97% of most guys aren't going to do that. Like, most guys she's probably dating up to this point are probably doing things like, well, we should go on a date. Whatever you want to do, princess, we can totally do it. And a woman will go along with that, but over time it starts to get really annoying for her because they want men that know how to plan things and that they can follow their lead. And so all you got to do during this phase is when she comes to you, hey, so what are your plans? Just be that guy that's already doing that. And then she can start to say, he plans stuff really well. He plans really fun activities. I want to be a part of that. And at that point, it's going to be her choice to see you versus you having to try to sneak in there and say like, oh, you should not date this guy. But like, if you're that guy, you look like you're a guy that's trying to steal a woman. Women don't respect that. They might fall for you initially, but then they'll be like, another guy will come along and steal away. But you just telling her the exciting stuff you're doing, that's a story that she can put in her head and say, I want to be part of that story. So just do that and see if it works out. So hopefully that'll help you get the girl you want, Let's see, continuing on. Another lesson that I learned, insight that I got about women from the process of dating is that once you lose a woman's trust, honestly, guys, you might as well just stop dating her. Like I said, I haven't always been, I've had made my own mistakes in relationships and stuff too. And so there have been times where I dated women and then, like I said earlier, I either withheld something or I did something behind their back that they didn't know about. And then they found out about it later. And even those women, that they would continue to stay with me and they would still have high interest. But at the point that happened, it was never the same. Like, there'd be consistent arguments that would arise. And in my head, I'd be like, okay, this argument is on the surface about this current thing, but it's really about she still has bad feelings based on this previous thing that I did. And that wasn't right, And I'm always a guy that's like, hey, if I screw up or do something that's out of pocket, I take the blame for that. So, but understand, like, you might think, okay, we can go to couples counseling, we can go to therapy, she'll get over it after 6 or 12 months. Guys, once you lose a woman's trust, because her trust, she spends the first 2 or 3 months of dating you, hoping that she's getting enough intel about you to be able to feel as though she knows you inside and out, and that you're not going to be the guy that's going to do anything that's not trustworthy, or that you're always going to be upfront, right? So at the point that down the line you do something that causes her to break trust, now she has to not only worry about if you're actually trustworthy, she has to question her ability to be able to pick guys that she can trust, because she seems to think she's doing a good job, and then you come along and do this thing, you know? And so at that point, as much as you may want to stay with her, honestly, it's only going to get more tumultuous. Like, I found the few times that I've done that, it did not result in the relationship getting better. It just made it worse, because they got more and more nervous and anxious around me and not trusty, and that was on me, you know? And so do her and you the favor of just getting out. Like, now, obviously, if you've been in a, long-term 30, 40-year marriage and stuff like that, that's going to be a little bit harder. At that point, I wouldn't recommend that. But for somebody you've been like boyfriend or girlfriend with for like 1 or 2 years, if you've messed up to where she's constantly worrying now and she's starting fights and stuff like that, like, that's a thing where you messed that up, guy. And so it's not fair to keep her around knowing that she's probably never going to actually get over that. And so I say, get out. Now, you might be a guy that thinks I can turn the ship around. And hey, if you can do that, more power to you. I just learned it's better to just take the lesson like, oh, okay, I messed up. She wasn't able to trust me because I did X, Y, and Z. And so that's on me. I will know better for the next person. And then just start with a clean slate. At least that's my advice. Your results or your suggestions may vary, but I'm just saying it's not worth staying in the hassle that you caused, if that makes sense, you know? Okay, let's see. Another important insight that I've learned about dating is that, okay, this is a really important insight for you guys out there to know, all right, is that there are too many freaky women out there for you to settle for a woman that is not freaky. That's just my overall bottom line. I don't know what your experience is in that, but I have found that there have been a couple times where, I was dating a woman and maybe we got hot and heavy at first, but then over time, just either kind of find out she wasn't all that interested in hooking up, or just, whatever, right? And so they start making excuses. Oh, I'm just really not that sexual of a person, or, oh, just, I don't know, I don't feel thinking X, Y, and Z. And guys, I'm going to say this, like, if they're telling you that early on, take them at their word and get out. Because I've seen guys that were dating women that were already not giving them a whole lot of hookups, and then they marry that person and then got mad at them for not giving them more hookups. And I'm looking at them like, but when you were dating them, they were already on the decline sexually. Why did you think it was going to get better once you got married? And I just found that that's not typically what's going to happen. What's going to happen is if early on she's showing that she's not a freaky chick, or maybe she's like, I can do it like twice a week. If you're a guy that knows you need it like 4 or 5 times a week and she's doing it twice a week, chances are she's not going to raise that number. More likely than not, as the years go on, it's going to decline. And so don't trick yourself into thinking, well, as she gains more love for me, she'll want to hook up with me more. It's true that, as a woman's interest level rises, she's going to feel more things for you, want to do more things. But even at a just base level, from when you guys first start hooking up, most women I find are going to want to be relatively involved. And so ideally you find somebody that either matches your sexual drive, or maybe is a tad bit lower, or maybe even higher, But don't fall for this lie from women like, oh, I'm just not that sexual, I'm just blah, blah, blah. Because there are too many women out there that actually enjoy sex. Some women have sexual trauma, or they grew up in a household where sex wasn't talked about. And so, I've learned over the years from women that it's a journey for them to go from like, I'm just a girl that's growing up with just like dudes are as a kid, to like now I'm like a sexualized thing that has boobs and a butt, and I'm told I have to go down on all these guys and just like it from day one. Like, they have their own journey of getting comfortable with their own sensuality and sexuality. And some women never get there. I dated women that felt too weird about having to wear things like lingerie, like a bra and panty set was like, oh my God, this is too much. And so you can't change a person like that. Like, you could do your darndest, you could go to therapy, you could say, hey, let's go. But at the end of the day, they have to want to do that stuff. And also, you taking them there doesn't mean they're going to feel more comfortable doing it. And I've just found the time you would spend trying to get a woman and convincing her to be more sexual and to do more things in bed, you could spend that time just finding a woman out there that already does that, because there's actually a lot of them. Like, there are a lot. So if you're suffering in the bedroom, you may want to dump your chick, because real talk, there's another chick out there that's just like her and has a better sex drive. I'm just being real based on the years of my dating experience. Okay, another important lesson and insight that I've gotten from dating after all these years is that, please, guys, do not believe the lie that busy boss babes don't want to do domestic stuff or have time to do things you want them to do. I have dated a number of boss babes, teachers, lawyers, doctors, scientists, women that have actual busy lives. They have busy jobs. They're going after master's degrees in college. They're going to law school and going to cases and doing things, well, all this stuff, right? And I have found that those women, surprise, surprise, also were great cooks, liked cleaning, liked doing laundry, would want to hook up whenever I wanted to. And so there's a lie that men have started to buy into, which is that, oh, these boss babes, they're so boss, they don't have time to like make a home cooked meal or to wash dishes. And it's bull crap. It's all bull. First of all, these boss babes, when they weren't dating, they had to come home and they had to cook for themselves and they had to wash their own dishes and do their own laundry. Like, they made time to do that for themselves. And so transfer that. A woman that has high interest in you, that just happens to be a boss babe, will also do all the things I just mentioned. Yes, she will not make up the excuse, well, I don't have time, and well, I'm so busy and this, and that, because when women like you, they want to do everything they can to impress you and show you that you are worthy of getting all this attention. And so, again, if you buy into the lie that's out there, then you're going to have a boss babe that you date and be like, oh, I can't do these things, and how dare you, and, women's lib, and you're just feminism, and you're just being toxically masculine, and blah, 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 blah. No woman that is feminine and has high interest in you will ever say that. She will never give you the feminist talk. She will never give you the, well, I'm a boss babe too, and this talk. No, she will want to be there to wash your dirty drawers and cook whatever meal that you need her to make in order for you to be happy. Because even though she's a boss babe, she also understands that she has to do her part to keep you. And ideally, by the way, you're doing your part. Because I know women will watch things like this and be like, but what about the man? I'm a guy that knows how to cook. I know how to do my own laundry. I can clean. All the other stuff. If a woman comes into my life and wants to take over all that stuff, I will let her, because there's going to be other things I know I got to do as a guy in this relationship. I got to kill spiders. I got to fix things. I got to, comfort her when she's going through a bad day, and all these other things that I got to do as a guy that says to her, I'm doing my part. If her part as a woman is like, okay, you did all that, so I still want to feel like a woman, so I want to cook and all this other stuff, I'm not going to take that away from them. But again, I found I don't have to, because even women that are in the workplace, women that are CEOs, that are VPs of companies, they will still want to do all that crap for a guy that they're highly interested in. So don't buy into the lie. Just saying. Okay, another lesson. And by the way, guys, this show is all about you. So if you have any questions you want to ask me in the chat, leave your questions and I will happily answer them. Another lesson, the 9th lesson that I've learned from dating and learned about women is that you cannot fix women with heavy baggage or a traumatic past. I get it, guy. We want to be Superman. I retired my cape a long time ago because in my early days of dating, I thought that I could save women. They'd come to me and tell me a sob story about, oh, those guys never treat me right and this and that. I got abused as a kid and this and that. And I'm sitting there like, oh, that's so sad. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be different. I'm going to be different from all the guys she's ever dated. I'm going to be nice to her and cordial and get her gifts and buy her flowers and do all the things that she's never had done to her before. And she's going to absolutely love me for it and see that she deserves this. No, they don't feel that because their experience is, for whatever reason, their comfort zone is trauma. Their comfort zone is baggage. I've seen a few videos online of women talking about like they dumped guys. There was one girl who was like, she dumped the guy because he was too boring. Like he was doing all the things right. They never had any arguments or complaints. He was there for her. He did all the things that on paper a guy should be doing. And yet and still, because of her trauma and because of, the past that she had gone through, that felt weird to her. And that made her look at him like a cornball. And therefore she dumped the guy and then ended up with some other dude and got pregnant by him and all this other stuff. And she was like, in hindsight, that was a bad mistake. Like, yeah. So I say this because as well-meaning as you think you are in trying to show this woman a different reality, the reality for you is that it is better for you to date women that have either already fixed their trauma or have had no trauma or have limited dating experience, at least to the point where they don't have a lot of baggage. Like obviously, the older we get, if you're a guy in your 40s or 30s dating a woman that's in her 20s or 30s, by 30, most women have been through the ringer. They've been through bad relationships. They've been through guys possibly cheating on them, et cetera. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you can't potentially date a woman that doesn't have any kind of baggage. Like inevitably she's going to have a bit of baggage, but to date someone that has like trauma and baggage and a bunch of hookups under her belt and has been divorced several times, like you looking into that and then being like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. At that point, guy, it's on you. And as much as you think you're going to save these chicks, you're not. They're going to be the same way they were with their previous guy is going to be the same way they are with you. And here's the other thing. I found that women oftentimes aren't going to tell you about any toxicity that they caused in the past. So this is why it's important for you as a guy to be asking about, hey, so like, what was your dating past like? Maybe not like on the first or second date, but like at some point you guys will start talking about previous partners or dates you went on, or what's it been like before in your childhood. Always ask about their childhood. Ask about their childhood and about the relationships they had with their fathers, because those two things are going to play a huge part in the kind of woman she's going to be in terms of agreeableness and emotional stability. If either of those two things were traumatic in any way, shape, or form, I feel sorry for her. You can sympathize, get out, because it's not going to bode well for you long term. And there are easier women out there that have come from a past that didn't have as much trauma that are going to be easier to date. Also, fix your trauma if you have any, guys. I talk on here a lot about how dating women with trauma is a bad idea, but guys, let's be real. We got trauma of our own. We have, unsettled feelings about our past. We have, times where we were, not getting chosen for dates or being called weird, or, your parents did something to you or whatever. Like that stuff's in our stories also. And so if you ain't got that fixed, then you're not good for anybody else either. So get as much of yourself into therapy or fixing your trauma as you can. If you're a guy that's like heavy into alcohol or drugs, get that crap out of your life altogether, because alcohol and drugs causes more problems for relationships than anything else outside of like social media, And so, yeah, fix your trauma as well. But yeah, don't think you can be Captain Save 'em. Guys, we have it in us that we want to be the guy that can come in there and save the day. And the reality is some women you just cannot save. Women that have excessive trauma, you cannot save. I'm telling you this again, you cannot save them. If you're with somebody now thinking, I'm going to change them, I'm going to make them see the world better, you cannot. And the time you're going to spend doing that is the time you can be out there finding another woman that came from a good household, that has a good head on her shoulders, and that has not gone through an excess of baggage, all right? They are out there as hard as it may be to believe, All right, we got a question in the chat. We got several questions in the chat. Okay, hold on a second here. All right. So we got a question in the chat. And the question goes, what's the amount that makes a girl a 304, we'll say? Spelled backwards numbers, okay? Respectfully, my ex had 12 bodies. She probably has 20 plus bodies now. I learned my lesson. If the signs are there pre-relationship, then I have to pay attention. She was 20 with 12 bodies. Damn. 2 years removed from the relationship now. I was trying to be Captain Save 'em. So, all right, so look, this is a subject that gets really touchy because it involves a lot of judgment. Like the reality is, if you're saying how many bodies does a woman have to make her a 304, that is going to be a judgment call. And some women don't like to hear that. I'm not here to really care about the feelings aspect of things. I care about reality, and I care about how X amount of bodies affects how she moves about in the world, or what it says about her in particular, right? So I will just say, based on dating history, I have found that women that have more bodies, it's usually because they came from a household where there was either trauma or the relationship with the dad was toxic, and they're going out there to rack up bodies as a means of trying to prove their self-worth and as a means of trying to get love from guys that they didn't get from their father at home, right? And so to that end, I would say, based on that being my experience, I would say that women having a high number of bodies, it doesn't bode well. I'm not even talking about like being grossed out by it. I'm talking about the fact that higher bodies typically says that they've had more trauma, and I don't want to date women with trauma, And so, yeah, there was a girl I dated like years back where, midway through us dating, I found out that when she was back in college, she would get on dating apps every weekend and go hook up with dudes. And she did it for like 2 years. And so I'm doing calculations in my head like, wait a minute. She said every weekend she would go on the dating apps and she would get a new guy and do whatever. And then that was for like 2 years straight. So there's 52 weeks in a year. So, oh my God. But having heard her story growing up about how she got abused in the household, just verbally and stuff like that. But like her sisters got abused physically and how the dad was always yelling at them, this and that. I was like, oh, is it any wonder? And then we ended up not working out. So suffice to say, Guy, that the body number themselves, because 12 bodies by the time they're age 20, like even if we're going, okay, she had 2 bodies a year since she was like 14, right? So 2 bodies a year, that's like roughly, we'll say, she said 12 bodies, that's 6.2 a year. That's still like quite a lot of people, right? And it's letting people in her without discernment. Like it's basically like, oh, I went to a party and hooked up because it just felt good. Again, you got to look at the kind of trauma. Now, if she was 40 and had 12 bodies, I could say that's like a body, maybe a body and a half every year for X amount of years. Like if she started hooking up with guys at 20 and she's 40 now, and even if she had like 20 bodies, that's like a body every year. That's not the worst thing. But I would say, yeah, the time crunch equivalent, that's pretty bad. So look at like how old they are by the number of guys. And then most of the time women will lie to you. So if they say, oh, I've only had like 12 bodies, she probably had like 18. Like let's just be real, because she knows on some level that a guy's going to probably be grossed out if the number is too high, but she doesn't want to completely lie about it, but she just wants to omit. And then some women will do the thing of like, well, I went on vacation. It was in a different time zone, so it doesn't count. Or, well, I let him put my fingers inside me, but that's not really his member. So that way that doesn't actually count. And then there was a time that, she may have gone down on a guy, but then she had nothing done to her. So that doesn't count. So yeah, the more bodies they're telling you, there's probably actually more bodies than that, So that's how I would determine that, just in case you're curious. So yeah. Interesting question though. So thank you for that. All right. So the 10th insight that I have gotten from dating all these years, and this is very, very important, right, is that big red flag. If she either has limited to no female friends, or you find out that most of her friends are single, you need to run. You need to get out. You need to not date her, all right? Here's the thing, guy. Let's go with the first one. If she has limited to no female friends, and these are women that'll say things like, oh, I don't really get along that well with women. I just find them so catty and toxic, this and that. You're thinking it's a good thing. You're thinking, oh, this must mean she relates to guys a lot better. No, what it means is she can't get along with other women. And that's a problem, because women amongst themselves are generally trying to be pretty agreeable. Like they're not trying to cause too much commotion. Women are about community. And so they're trying to be on the same level as other women. They're not trying to be, even like boss babes are trying to like put themselves on a lower tier. Think about like Kamala's running for freaking president and said, yeah, but I'm still just like that old Southern girl from back in the day. And I was poor also. And this is that. Like she's still trying to relate to women as if she's the same as them, and she is not. And so understand, that's women will do that when they know how to get along with other women. Women that don't know how to do that, that's not good. Because if she can't get along in a community of people that are designed and brought up to get along with each other, that means she's not going to be good for you. She's going to be fighting you tooth and nail and stuff. She's not going to understand why you have this viewpoint when I have this viewpoint and blah, 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 blah. And it's going to cause hassle. I have yet to date a woman that told me that she doesn't have a lot of female friends or just a lot of friends in general that ended up being a stable partner. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm an introvert. But I have friends as far back, both men and women friends, as far back as like 5 years old that I'm still in contact with, that I still regularly reach out to this day. I have friends I met in college that I've known now for 20 X amount of years, both men and women, right? And I'm an introvert and a dude. If a woman isn't able to tell me that she has friends or friendships that have gone longer than 10 years, that is a problem. That is a huge problem, right? So big red flag. But then the other thing I found is that, yeah, a woman that has only single friends is a woman that has friends that are going to try to convince her to stay single. What do I mean by this? Let's say you two get into a little bit of tiff, you wanted to go somewhere, or let's say you were supposed to go on a date and then you arrived like 5 minutes late because of traffic, right? her girlfriends will be on the phone. He's late. You need to dump him. He's not respecting your rights and blah, 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 blah. Because women that are single are trying to keep other women single until they get a man. And then at that point, they'll just go off and then not help their girlfriends at all, right? So yeah, I have found that typically it's better to date women that have other women friends that are either in relationships or married, because they have a better perspective of what it takes to be in a relationship. And let's say you're dating a girl that's maybe new to the whole relationship thing, but she has other girlfriends that have boyfriends, have had boyfriends, or are in a happy marriage. When things go awry with you guys, she's going to go to them and say, oh my God, so-and-so did such and such or said this thing. And they're going to say, okay, sit down. He's actually right. Or that's how relationships are supposed to go. Or, oh, that thing he said, you could have said it differently, but this is how men function. Like, they're going to be able to give better insights about the things that you're doing or saying and basically be on your team. And that's what you get from a woman that has female friends that are in relationships. Women that have friends that are single, none of them chicks know how to function properly with a man. And so all she's going to get is bad intel, and it's not going to be good for you and your relationship. So I typically tend to steer clear of women when they tell me either I don't have a lot of female friends, or, oh, I have all these friends that are all single. This one's single. This one just broke up with her boyfriend, and this girl can never keep a guy. Not good. It's not a good look. Just putting that out there. And then lastly, very important, this is a bonus one for you guys, but a huge lesson to take that you as a guy just need to internalize is that you should always, always, always be moving at a slower pace than the woman. This kind of goes back to doing less has a bigger impact, but it's bigger than that. It's this idea that you are typically going to feel as though you want to go at a faster pace than she is. You know, it takes women 2 or 3 months to really vet us and to trust us and to figure us out. And you're going to be sitting there being like, but it's been 2 dates. I already know I like her. I know how she smells. I know what she looks like. I know that some of the things that she's into. You may have already made out with her, so you know you like that. And based on those 2 or 3 dates, you're like, I've already figured her out. I already like her. Why is Harry telling me I got to wait? I feel like I'm playing games. What's going on? And that's probably what's causing you to lose a lot of women, because you're looking at things from your perspective and thinking, if I feel things this quickly, she must feel them too. We're always projecting. However we think or feel, we feel the other person is doing the same thing or functioning the same way. And that's why you may have been confused after like 2 or 3 dates when you're trying to talk about feelings and she's seemingly telling you that she's undecided about you. You're like, what? What's going on? And that's the reality, is that they are going to move a bit slower in their process. But I have found that as I slowed down my process, it got a lot easier because it makes them have to come to me as it pertains to their growing interest. Perfect example, right? One of the things I teach you guys, and then I learned this years ago, and it's worked for me immensely great, right? Is that I do not ask women out on weekend dates when I first start dating them. I stick to Sundays through Thursdays. That is a lesson that I learned from Doc Love years ago, and it has proven to be an absolute game changer, right? But why do I do that? I do that because Fridays and Saturdays are days that feel like they're designed for couples. If we're not yet a couple, or she's not yet feeling that we're at the level where we should be doing couple-like things, then me suggesting a Friday or Saturday subconsciously says to her, I've already chosen you as my girlfriend. And that is a faster pace than she's willing to be at on dates 1, 2, and 3. On the other hand, I found if I didn't suggest those days at all, I'm taking my time, I'm asking her out once a week for a weekday date, so it's a finite amount of time, I found a few things started to happen. One, I found out, surprise, surprise, women will actually hook up with you during the weekday in spite of having work the next day. But more importantly, I found that now makes her have to come to me to ask for a weekend date. I might have been ready by date 2 or 3 to do a weekend date, but I know that part of me reading her interest is letting her get to where she's ready to ask for those weekend dates. So in other words, I have slowed down the pace. I'm not asking her out twice a week. I'm doing my thing of asking her out once a week and not doing weekends. And that results in her having to ask for multiple dates a week and potentially asking me out on a weekend date. This also goes to texting. I found as I slowed down my texting pace, it got easier to be able to communicate with her and have more meaningful connection with her when I saw her in person. So you do yourself a disservice thinking you got to rush into a relationship or rush into go from like you're meeting her online. So now you got to talk to her every single day. You got to be in communication with her all the time. You got to tell her all your secrets. I just found that being at a slower pace for all that stuff resulted in her being able to trust herself more about choosing me, to where there was no question when it came to the relationship conversation if she wanted to be in a relationship, because she was coming to that conclusion based on the fact that I was going slightly slower than her, which means she had to be the one to hurry this thing up. And as I say, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. But those are just some of the many, many big lessons that I learned in my time being able to date women over all these years. And there's many, many more lessons that I've learned. Obviously, I got a channel. I got a bunch of videos up about things that I've learned. But these are some biggie ones that I hope you can take with you in your dating life, and that should help you out in a real way. So hopefully some of what I've said today has helped you. All right. We got a question in the chat, and the question goes, what is your advice on no contact with a coworker that you're likely to bump into? So I would need more intel. Is this a coworker that you're already dating, or is it a coworker that you're currently interested in? Because those are two different situations. Depending on the situation, things might change up a little bit. But so I'll put it like this. Assuming that you're currently dating her, dating somebody that you work with is a bit of a different situation, because obviously, you know, it'd be different if you guys didn't work together and you took her out. You wouldn't potentially run into her in public, or if you weren't trying to reach out to ask her out every single day, you wouldn't see her that often. But at work, it's a little bit different because you're bound to see her. You know, you're going to see her at nighttime when you go on a date, and then the next day at work, you're going to be seeing her, whatever, you know, right? But here's the thing. Guys make it weird because they aren't able to separate the two. And you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to say, okay, I know realistically I'm going to see her when we date, and at work I'm going to see her. But here's the thing. Just don't treat it as if you two are in a relationship when you see her at work. Because the thing is, until a woman's ready to admit to everybody else that, oh my God, I'm seeing this guy and we work together, whatever, she doesn't want the feeling tone of you trying to treat her at work as if you've already tried to wife her up. That's when you contacting her consistently at work becomes a problem, because then you're going to be trying to have like deep feeling conversations and trying to get her flowers and all this other stuff in a workspace where you shouldn't be doing that. You should be keeping things professional at work. Yes, if she comes by your cubicle or wherever you work in your job and wants to talk to you, you're not trying to turn her away, but you're also not trying to seek her out. You know, at the job space, let her be the one to come to you. Again, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. So if she's the one that's regularly coming to you at the job, her brain's going to say, why do I keep going over to this guy at the job? It must be because I really like him. Versus if you're constantly going to her, she's going to be like, why is this guy always on me? I'm feeling pressured. He's making this feel like a relationship, and I'm not ready for that yet. And so I'm out, you know? And so hopefully that's what's happening. Now, if it happens to be that, you know, you guys were dating and then you guys stopped dating and you see her at work, it comes with the territory, man. You got to suck it up and act like it didn't happen, which means you still got to, again, not whatever personality, whatever things you're taking personal outside of the job, you got to stop that crap when you go into work and treat her like any other person that works there. Because, again, you guys decided to date. If it didn't work out, it is what it is. But you got to keep the work environment the work environment. So basically what I'm saying is, whether you guys are dating each other or not, in the professional workspace, you keep it professional. You talk to her when she comes to you, but if not, don't try to go to her, make small talk. You should be at your job on the mission of earning money and doing your job. And women want to see that. If she gets turned on by that and wants to happen to come over and talk to you, let that happen. But again, don't be trying to initiate all these conversations at work and then you're trying to initiate dates. It's going to be overkill. If anything, let her be the one at work to initiate conversation. And then outside of work, protocol, text her, ask her for dates, take her on dates, hook up with her, and repeat until she asks you to be the boyfriend. It really is that simple. So hopefully that helps you out. All right, guys. So I think that's all I had in terms of my side of things. If you guys have any other questions you want to ask me before I get out of here, I am more than open to answering your question. Also, guys, I have a great program at my website right now called the Introvert Dating Success Academy Community. If you guys are struggling through various parts of the dating game, whether it's approaching women, or knowing what kind of dates to take them on, or knowing what things they're thinking about, or why they communicate the way they do, or what things you really need to do to attract them, this program is like $47 a month, and you get access to all those things. All the video programs I've ever put together, you get access to all the ebooks, all the audiobooks, and they're spaced out so you know what lessons to be taking depending on what part you need help on, okay? So you can go to the front page of introvertdatingsuccess.com and check out what we have to offer. Also this month, while you're there, I'm offering my Texting Women Like a Boss ebook for a very, very, very low price. So you can also check that out on the front page as well, all right? But either way, you can check those things out at the website. All right. We got a question in the chat. And the question goes, oh, we had a newbie. Okay. So this is the guy that has never had a relationship. So he says, I've never been in a relationship before. I kind of agree, no contact, and let her go through all the thoughts and maybe come back to you herself. I can imagine this strategy works in the early stages, but I just cannot imagine how to proceed further on and actually develop a deep connection and eventually form a relationship because I've never been in such a process. Well, again, if you go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, you know what? My sound battery is about to die. I got to change the batteries real quick. So while I'm changing the battery, and I'll come back to answer your question. While I'm doing that, you can check this out right here. Just to give you a bit of more intel about my ebooks. Hey guys, Harry Wilmington here. And I just want to tell you really quickly about some of the awesome ebooks that I have available at the website. So to start off with, we have my brand new book, Stop Losing Women, which is based off of my previous podcast. And it's over 284 pages of life-changing advice for your dating life. You're going to discover in the span of these pages the ins and outs of how to become more confident, the do's and don'ts of how to attract women, how to pace yourself during the dating process, and ultimately what it truly takes for you to be a more confident dater so that way you can get out there, attract women, and more importantly, stop losing women, okay? The other ebook that I have on my website is called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. This is the first book that I ever wrote, and simply put, it is a 12-chaptered masterpiece that is designed to, in a very funny way, mind you, guide you through the ins and outs of why all the things you're trying to do right now to attract women can actually cause you to lose them. I mean, things like being the nice guy, overextending yourself, getting too many gifts, too many compliments, and a variety of other things that you may think as a guy I should be doing. This funny book's going to help you figure out once for all why you should not do those things and how to better yourself instead. So be sure to check that book out as well. The other book that's been very popular at my website is called Texting Like a Boss. This is where, for all you guys out there that have problems texting women or don't understand why she starts off so chummy in the terms of the texting things, and then she starts to kind of go away and you can't figure out what's going on or why, or you're not an efficient enough texter to be able to actually get dates by way of texting. Well, this book is going to give you 21 do's and don'ts that are tried, true, and tested, so that way you can get the results that you want with women when you're texting them, and ultimately not do the wrong things that are going to cause her to eventually ghost you in the texting realm. All right, so check that book out at the website. Lastly, my other popular book that I have there is called 10 Steps to Winning Back Your Ex, the step-by-step, no-nonsense guide to reconnecting with an old flame, regardless of who ended the relationship. And so for you guys that are like, hey, I think I lost a great one, and she left me and I want to get her back. Or you might have been the guy that's like, hey, I dumped her and then I realized I made a mistake and I want to get her back. Well, this book covers both of those scenarios in a very detailed step-by-step way that is designed to allow you to figure out what you did wrong, how you can show up better, and the sequence of events you need to go through in order to effectively win back the woman that you are no longer with. So if these things sound like things that'll be helpful to you, then definitely go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the products tab, where you can find a summary of all these books as well as my various programs, and they will be more than happy in helping you figure out whatever part of the dating journey you're on, so that way you will not be confused and you will ultimately be able to have the dating life that you want. So check those out at the website today. And we're back. I got a popsicle. So good. All right. So as you just saw, all those books are available as part of the Introvert Dating Success Academy community. Again, $47 a month. You get access to those books. You get access to my Top Secret Dating Blueprint, which walks you. The Top Secret Dating Blueprint walks you through the ins and outs, the step-by-step you need to be doing in order to meet, greet, attract, land, date, and ultimately keep the woman of your dreams. So if you really want to leg up in the dating game, granted, again, it's a program I'm selling, but it really is based on my years of dating and having this process consistently work time and time again. Then you pair that with the other video program in there called the Smart Digital Dating Program, which teaches you how to get women online to go from meeting them, putting up your profile the right way, to getting them to say yes to dates, to going up, all that stuff. So anyway, that's all the website. But with that said, I will help you out here. So here's the biggest thing I learned, because I've been in the same shoes, guy. My first girlfriend I had for 2 weeks when I was 15 years old, and I did not have another actual girlfriend until I was 30. Like, real talk, I was able to hook up with women, but I still couldn't quite get into a relationship. Sometimes it was because I was just still a nervous person, couldn't figure out how to do it. And sometimes it was just because I just wasn't interested in that moment. So one of the things I learned that's very, very important, though, is that we get in our own way. Like I talked about earlier about the whole doing thing. As guys, we think we have to do so much. That's what's happening to you, because I'm looking at what you said, and what you're saying is, I can't imagine how to proceed, and what do I need to do to develop a deep connection? What do I need to do to form a relationship? And that's the woman's job. Like, women will fight me on this all day, but really, if you think about it, like, they're the ones that of the two sexes typically are all about community and about, connection and about not being alone and about trying to be with other people, And there's been this narrative that's been twisted into thinking like, oh, no, wait, it's the guy that actually does that. Your job is to show consistency and to build trust and to show her a good time. And those are things that initially don't seem like they're all that emotional, right? Like, show her a good time. How's that doing anything other than just we're going on dates or whatever, right? But as women start to see you more often and they're able to see you consistently be the same kind of person time and time again, what happens to them is their feelings for you are going to build with the level of trust and consistency that they see in you. So a lot of the reasons that I teach things like processes about dating for guys is because if you just learn the processes of how dates should function, or how to plan a date, or what move to make at this particular time when a woman's showing this particular sign, knowing to do those things makes a woman feel as though, oh, you get women. Like you understand women, you know how they function, you know how they maneuver or how they need to be maneuvered. And then that makes them trust you more. And then they're thinking back on all the other guys that couldn't do that weren't consistent, that were liars, that were cheaters, that they couldn't trust. And you end up winning by default. But it's by learning these practices. I mentioned in an earlier stream about the Karate Kid, and about, like, in the movie, Mr. Miyagi is trying to teach Daniel-san karate by having him like do chores. Like, he's like, okay, wash my car or wax my car, wax it like this, and then, sweep the leg, like sweep like this on the floor, and then do those other things. And then so after like 4 or 5 of these, Daniel comes to him and is like, dude, you're not teaching me karate at all. What's going on? And then he's like, okay, show me how to wax the car. Ha. Oh, you're blocking. Show me sweep the leg. Oh, you're sweeping. Look, you're doing a kick. And it was like, yeah, all these mechanical things that seem to have no effect ended up having a major effect on how he was able to perform. And so the same is true of you. A lot of the stuff that I teach is processes, because if you do those processes correctly, women will get the feeling that you get women, and then by default, they will come to you and ask about being in a relationship. They'll start to feel a deeper connection with you, and you don't have to. And I've learned this too. I didn't add this in the first part of the show, but I've also learned that I don't have to do the emotional work for her to feel emotionally connected. Like, if I know my part is the guy, I show up, I show him a good time, I'm consistent, I give good hookups. That's my part. My part is doing actions that show that I want her, but not having to verbalize those things. And then her job is to feel that I'm doing those things right in a way that she feels like, oh my God, I feel connected to this guy. And then I found also, here's a secret, like when women say they want a guy that's in touch with his feelings, what they actually mean is they want a guy that's not going to be freaked out by her feelings or judge her for having them. Like, she doesn't want to feel like if she cries about something that seemingly is stupid to you, that you're going to make fun of her or judge her. That's what women actually mean when they say they want a guy that is in touch with his feelings. That they want him to be in touch with her feelings, okay? And so don't think that you have to come to this situation where you're feeling all these things and you got to try to convince her to be in a relationship. And you're thinking it's like the rom-coms where you didn't know at first that you loved her. Then you realize that she was slipping away and you have to tell her how you feel so she wants to be with you. You telling a woman how you feel about her is the dumbest and worst way for you to get into a relationship, because what's going to actually happen more often than not is whatever feelings you express to her, it's going to always sound like more than what she anticipated. And it's going to freak her out. That's my experience. If your experience is different, guys in the chat, let me know. I have found more often than not that my experience, guys that I've coached, I have found that when we're trying to spew all these feelings, women just suddenly just feel awkward, or they're not quite sure about their feelings now, and they're quite not ready. And then we get that letter like, hey, so you mentioned these feelings, and I really appreciate you telling me, but I'm just not there yet. Yeah, because you didn't let her get there yet because you were thinking you had to do all this stuff. So all that to say, your part as a guy is actually super simple. Once you get out of the idea that you have to do so much to make this happen, because you're not about making this happen. We're about you're putting yourself out there the best way you possibly can, and then making her feel as though of her own accord she's choosing you. Now, there's things you can do that are going to make her want to choose you a lot faster, and that's where I get into the Introvert Dating Success Academy community, which has all these programs and ebooks available that will teach you these step-by-steps of how to go from getting a woman's number, taking her out on dates, to actually getting into a relationship, which she, by the way, will come to you and say, hey, so like, what are we? So why aren't we a thing yet? What's going on? And you'll find that you'll get that more if you know the processes of dating better. So I say, learn processes. Don't focus on how to develop a deeper connection. Don't focus on how to form a relationship, because she should be coming to you asking for the relationship. You should never, as the guy, never do this again if you've done it before. Never go to a woman and after like a month or two of dating, be like, hey, so let's be in a relationship. That is the easiest way to not get in a relationship. It sounds counterproductive. It sounds like a Jedi mind trick, but I've just found the relationships I've gotten into and have been successful in are all the ones where the women came to me and said, hey, so what are we? The ones where I try to do that, either A, rejection, or B, worse actually, is they would say yes, and then later on say, it just feels like it was too fast. Yeah, which translates to, you didn't let me go through my natural process of being able to feel as though I was ready for that. And I was trying to be a nice person. So I said yes to you when I wasn't quite ready. And now I feel like I was pushed into it too soon. And therefore I'm now losing interest. All right. So on average, it takes women 2 to 3 months. For some women, you may date them for 4 months. But if you're doing the right things and making the right moves at the right time, then they will come to you and let you know they're ready for that step. Okay. And so if you need help with that, I got coaching at the website. I got a program. It's $47 a month. You can cancel it at any time. If you go through the whole program in 2 weeks and like, hey, I finished it up, boom, you can cancel and you lost $47, but you gained a whole lot of insight. And there was a point in time when like all the programs that are currently in my Introvert Dating Success Academy, I was charging like hundreds of dollars for. I just decided, you know what? I want this information to get out there to guys as efficiently as possible. And I feel like $47 a month is a good price for that. It's like, there's like hundreds of hours of audio and video that you can look at. But to make sure you don't just get lost in the sauce, I have programs in there also that will point you in the direction you're trying to go. Oh, I want to get better online dating. Boom, program for that. Oh, I know how to meet girls, but I don't know how to get into a relationship. Boom, program for that. Oh, we seem to be having a miscommunication. Boom, audio for that. Oh, we just broke up. She broke up with me. How do I get her back? Boom, got a book about that. So just consider checking that out at the website. But hopefully some of what I've said here will help you in terms of getting a better shot. Because again, I went years without being able to get girlfriends. So I get it. I just learned that, like, again, once I learned a process for how to do it and it started working like clockwork, it was a lot easier to get into relationships. But it took me 15 years to figure out that system. Don't take that long, is all I'm saying. All right, some other questions here. Someone said, hey, Harry, your advice is amazing. I keep up the good stuff and never stop. Us guys need you. I appreciate it, guys. Like I said, if you want to support this, like I do all this stuff for you guys on YouTube. If this is like a free conversation right now, right? But if you want to show support, because it's definitely helpful to the program and to be able to do some other things, you can always educate yourself by getting the programs at my website. You can also leave super chats. Anything you guys do, leave a comment, a like, a subscribe. All those things help the algorithm. So whatever you guys do, I immensely appreciate it. But I'm glad you're getting a lot of knowledge out of this, because again, I spent years being bad at dating so you could benefit and hopefully like not be bad. That's what I'm saying. And then somebody said, this is so true. Lack of sex always leads to unhappy relationships. Yep, that is absolutely true. So, I talked about that earlier in the show. But yeah, like you definitely want to make sure that the woman that you're with is actually likes hookups. And here's the thing. There are definitely women out there that they want to like sex. They have the horniness driving. They want to do it. But they've been through some situations. They've had bad intel. They've been made to believe that men only want that. And so anytime they're with a guy and he starts trying to be flirty and hint that, hey, let's do some stuff, their gut reaction is like, he just wants me for that. Like, you could have taken her out to a dinner and a movie and been texting her for hours on end. And then as soon as you mentioned sex, I knew it. It was just sex. That is a woman that went through some trauma that has not been dealt with yet. And again, I can feel sorry for her. I cannot date her because there's too many women out there that have not had that trauma, or even if they've had that trauma, still like a good hookup, have worked through it, and are willing to go toe to toe with you in the bedroom. All right. It's just not worth being with a woman that doesn't want to do that. So you're absolutely right on that. Okay, guys. So that's pretty much all I have today. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Harry Dating Conversations. I have a lot more videos that I'm doing now that I'm putting out just on the channel. I'm trying to post them out like 7 o'clock in the morning during the weekdays. And then I'm doing sporadic lives. Before I was doing like lives every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, but now I'm just kind of like, if I just feel like doing a live, I just jump on. So, but if you go to the website and you get the texting ebook, it's like $3 right now. But you'll be signed up to my email list, and then you'll get notified of when I'm doing these lives. So that way you'll be ready to go to get your questions answered and stuff like that. But thank you guys so much for taking out your Friday time to spend with me. Hopefully you guys got a lot of knowledge out of it. I'll be back at some other point in time. So again, sign up for the newsletter. Go to the website, get the programs. You'll be on the email list, and you'll be notified. That's all I got. I'm Harry Wilmington. I will catch you guys some other time. I'm out.
He's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class.